Subtract unlike fractions. Subtracting unlike fractions is similar to adding unlike fractions. And the rules are the same. So let's take a look at an example. And this goes back to our video on Cuban tree frogs. So we were looking at the lengths of tree frogs, and we wanted to find out the difference between those two lengths. So we had 5/12 for one of the frogs, and we had to subtract 1/4 for the other frog. So the first thing you want to do is find your least common denominator. The smallest number that both of those numbers can go into. Well, the smallest number 12 can go into is 12. So let's start there. 4 can go into 12 as well. So 12 is my least common denominator. The second step now is to multiply so you get the denominators to be the same least common denominator that you just found. So I'm going to take 1/4 and I'm going to multiply this by 3 to the numerator and denominator to get to 12. And now I'm going to recopy this information. I have 5/12 minus 1 times 3 is 3, and 4 times 3 is 12. They have a common denominator, and so now I can, step 3, subtract. 5 minus 3 is 2/12. Your final kind of fourth step in this case is to make sure that you've simplified. So I put the question simplify, question mark. Yes, I can, in fact. I can divide both the 2 and the 12 by 2. And that gives me 1/6. And that's my final answer. So let's look at one more example. Say Jessie finished half of her homework. But Sumner finished 4/5 of his homework. What fraction more of his homework did Sumner finish than Jessie? So this is where that rounding lesson that we did for the first lesson in this topic comes in handy, because I need to figure out which one I'm supposed to subtract from. Well, 4/5 is closer to 1, so 4/5 is the larger number, so that goes first. 4/5 minus 1/2. And it's also Sumner minus Jessie. So the question is, what is my least common denominator? Well, that would be 10 in this case. So I'm going to multiply the 5 by 2 and multiply that numerator by 2. And the 2 I'm going to multiply by 5 and the numerator by 5. And now I can recopy my fractions. 4 times 2 is 8 over 10 minus 5 over 10. And that leaves me with 3 over 10. And in this case, I cannot simplify, and so that is my final answer. And so those two steps again were to multiply and then subtract.